Hello, everybody. My name is Reggie, and welcome. Oh, so sorry. Let me start again. Hello, everybody. My name is Reggie, and welcome to my channel. It's such a beautiful day outside, and I really wanted to go out, but I am particularly tired today. And I figured it'd been a little while since I had done a video from my rocking chair. So I decided that even though the great outdoors is beckoning, I would stay inside and rest. So today I want to make a video about something that I find particularly challenging, and it has to do with communication. And I'm not really sure how to call this, but I'll just say what happened and, we'll just go from there. So first of all, for those of you who have liked and subscribed, thank you so much. It really makes a huge difference, and it's so important to get this kind of information out there. So if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. And for those of you who are wondering why my videos are so low as far as technical stuff is concerned, I don't have any equipment. I don't have a tripod. I don't have anything like that. I'm just holding my phone. So I don't have money to buy equipment. So apologies for the low quality, but it is what it is. And we'll just be grateful for what we do have. So anyway, today we're going to talk about something that I really don't like when people are talking to me. And I'm going to explain to you why that is, because I'm sure that a lot of you have had a similar struggle. And the purpose of my videos is not to just rant and just tell people what I don't like. It's to really educate people, because it's important that non-autistic people understand these concepts so that we have a chance of changing how we communicate with each other, changing how we're viewed as neurodivergent people, and having a chance of making a better society and where we can live in equal accommodation and at peace with each other socially and, in other ways as well. So anyway, last night, for those of you who don't know, I kayak. It's really funny, actually, because I noticed that in some of my videos, I keep mentioning a sport, a new sport that I do, and you guys are probably thinking, oh wow, is there a sport that she doesn't do? And yeah, there are plenty of sports that I don't do, but I'm a very sporty person. I always have been. I really enjoy learning sports and doing sports. So I do as many as I can. And for those of you who watch some of my previous videos, you know that I also have a physical disability. It's called genetic hypertonia. And so being very sporty and doing a variety of different sports really helps me maintain what I need to maintain in order to function with that disability. So yes, I do enjoy doing a lot of different sports. So that's why every time I've been making a video lately, you've been hearing a different sport that I do. So anyway, I kayak. I do mostly flat water kayaking, and I am also learning whitewater kayaking. So I'm a very beginner in whitewater, but as far as flat water is concerned, I do have the equivalence of a level 1 instructor rating. So I I'm pretty good at flat water, but whitewater is something that I am taking my time learning, and I'm really enjoying it. And the group that I'm learning it with is fantastic. They work with veterans, with the disabled, with the blind. It's a phenomenal group of people. So I'm really grateful to be a part of that. So in the wintertime, we have our whitewater practice sessions in a swimming pool at one of the local universities. And so that's what we're doing now. And so last night we had a session, and I am working on learning how to do my first Eskimo roll. For those of you who do not kayak, a roll is where basically if the boat flips over upside down, you can flip it back to right side up. And there are many, many different kinds of rolls. And an Eskimo roll is just the first roll that people learn. It's a very basic roll. And so that's what I am in the process of learning now. And before you can learn to do a roll, you have to learn how to get out of your boat correctly if your boat is flipped upside down and you can't get it back up. That, of course, obviously is a critical skill to learn. When you're learning this skill, it's called a wet exit. When you're learning this skill in a whitewater boat, there's a very specific way to do it because of how a whitewater boat is fitted to your body. So it's a lot to learn. Now, for those of you who don't know, I also swim. I was a professional lifeguard and swim instructor for a couple of decades, and I love to swim, and that's one of the sports that I actually spent a lot of time, learning my craft. So last night we were at our session, and one of the gentlemen who was there with us, he had never met me before. He doesn't normally come. He had come with his wife that day, and they're actually really, really good whitewater kayakers, and they're very experienced and they know what they're doing. But they are not disabled. And so he came over to me and he asked me what I was doing, and I told him, I'm working on my exits, and eventually I'll start working on my rolls. And he asked me if I wanted him to help me. And I was like, sure, if you want to help me, I'd love help. And so I started getting ready to do my exit, and he says to me, you need to put on a spray skirt. And for those of you who don't know what a spray skirt is, a skirt in kayaking is a neoprene skirt that you put around your waist, and then what you do is you put it around the cockpit opening of the boat, and it seals that cockpit opening so that water can't get into the boat while you're kayaking. Now, it's very important when you have a skirt on that you know how to take it off and how to get out of that boat. Because if you flip that boat upside down and you don't know how to roll it back up, and you haven't learned how to properly take off that skirt and get out of that boat, well, you can imagine, your life is probably going to be very short-lived. So he told me, he says, you need to put on a skirt. And I said, no, I'm not ready to put on a skirt yet. I'm not there yet. I have to learn the basics of getting out of the boat first. And, he argued with me back and forth a little bit about that. And I just stood my ground. I'm like, I'm not putting my life in danger. I'm not putting a skirt on. And so he eventually relented, and I started, doing my exits. And so I'd flip the boat over, get out of the boat, did that a couple times. And he said to me, "You're ready to do that with a skirt." And I said, "No, I'm not." And I told him, I said, "I'm actually a little bit apprehensive because as an ex-lifeguard and swim instructor, I have developed a relationship with the water. And I understand when my body is comfortable in the water and which positions it's comfortable in. And I understand when my body is not comfortable in the water. I can feel the parts of my body where there is hesitation and apprehension. And as someone who has worked professionally in aquatics, and also I've had 2 members of my family die of drownings, and I have also almost drowned a few times. I have become very good at knowing when I have apprehension and when I am completely relaxed when I'm in the water. And until I am completely relaxed in the sensation of being in a boat flipped upside down in the water, and I'm completely relaxed and completely comfortable in the sequencing that it takes to take that boat off of my body correctly and for me to get out of that boat, there's no way I'm putting a skirt on. It's not going to happen. And he kept telling me, "You're ready." And I kept saying no. And I told him, I said, I still feel apprehension. I still feel that I'm not 100% comfortable yet. And he told me, he said, "I'm watching you. I've seen people panic before. I know what panic looks like. You are not panicking. You are completely calm, and you are getting out of that boat in a completely calm way." And we literally had an argument about that. And then he said to me, "I don't want you to put limitations on yourself." So this is the problem. When people tell me they don't want me to put limitations on myself, they don't understand what they're saying to me. They think they understand, and I know where they're coming from. I know that they are well-intended, and I know what they mean. But what they don't understand is that what they are thinking and what they are meaning is very, very different from what I am receiving. And so then it becomes an argument because they want me to do what they want me to do on the schedule that they want me to do it. And what I had to explain to him is that I am not putting limitations on myself. The reason that I'm not willing to put on a skirt right now is because the things that I am capable of feeling in my body are telling me that I still have a level of apprehension. I still have a level of uncomfortableness with this skill. And it doesn't matter if he can see that or not. What he sees in this situation is irrelevant. I have to go by what my body is telling me. Now, why is this important? Because so many autistic people grow up being told all the time that what they feel isn't real. What they experience isn't real. And what I mean by that is we experience things on a level that many neurotypicals don't even know exist. The kinds of things we experience in a sensory sense, the kinds of things we might experience in our bodies, the kinds of sensations that we might be in tune with in our bodies, the kinds of things that we understand about how our minds work and how we learn things. A lot of these things are sensations and understandings and connections within our own bodies that neurotypicals don't necessarily experience, or they don't experience them as acutely as we do. Now, a lot of us might have trouble expressing what we experience and expressing what we feel and saying it in a language that neurotypical people understand. But it doesn't mean that we don't feel what we feel. And there are things that we might feel that a neurotypical person has never felt before because they're not capable of being that sensitive to themselves or to their environment. So for someone to tell me that I am wrong in the apprehension that I feel within my own body and insisting that I am wrong, that is very, very dangerous. Because what that does is it tells me that any connection I have with my body and with my own being isn't real. And as autistic people, we get told this all the time. Say, oh, it's too bright. No, it isn't. Oh, I'm sensitive to that sound. There's no sound. I don't hear anything. Oh, I can't tolerate, this sensation. Yes, you can. Oh, I feel this or that. No, you don't. That is something that a lot of us get all the time. Oh, I don't believe you. I don't believe that you hear this or feel that or see this or. And when you have that kind of experience all the time from childhood, you lose the ability to be aware of your own being. And that can cause devastating consequences. For example, in that particular example, where we were kayaking, if I had listened to him and put that skirt on and flipped that boat over, there is a possibility that I could have drowned that night. Because my brain would probably have responded in a way that they did not expect. in order for me to be safe with that skirt on, I have to have a certain mastery of as many nuances as possible in that situation. Why is that? Because my brain processing speed is very slow. So it's not like a neurotypical person who can just know, oh, okay, I flip the boat over, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, and I'm good. That's not how it works for me. My brain processing speed is too slow. I have to familiarize myself and get to know what everything feels like. What does it feel like if I put my hands over here? What if it feels like if I shift my weight there? What if it feels like if I'm in this direction, in that direction? I have to really get to know everything about that situation, and I have to feel it, and I have to understand it, and I have to familiarize myself with it, and I have to be 100% comfortable with it, because my brain doesn't have enough processing speed to just say, oh, the boat's over, okay, let me do this and do this and do this, and I can, that's not how that works for me. But for somebody who doesn't have the same brain functioning as I have, who doesn't think and learn and understand and process the world the way that I do, they don't need to do all that. And so for them, it's just a matter of, okay, I just get told how to do something, and then I just learn, steps 1, 2, and 3, and I do it. That's just not how life works for me. If I just try to do that, I could end up dead. I could flip that boat over and drown. So I have to have a very, very different process in how I learn how to do something. So as a non-autistic person who is helping me, he could not possibly know or understand all of the sequencing that has to happen in my brain in order for me to be proficient enough in that step before moving on to the next step. And that's fine. He doesn't have to know. He doesn't have to understand. What is not fine is that he insisted on arguing with me about it. He insisted he was right. He insisted I was wrong. This is incredibly dangerous. Now, in a kayaking situation, it's very obvious to see how you could literally cause someone to lose their life if you do that to them. But how does that translate into the real world, or the rest of life? Well, if you are familiar with the concept of autistic burnout or autistic masking, if you're not familiar with these concepts, definitely look them up. There are plenty of articles and videos about them now. I will try to do some at some point as well. But autistic burnout, to put it very simply, is a very, very critical situation where we have exceeded our ability to function. So our brains start to shut down, and an autistic burnout can vary in severity. The most severe burnouts can cause crippling lifelong effects, permanent neurological damage, and the most severe burnouts can actually cause death. Autistic masking is a phenomenon where an autistic person will try to look as not autistic as possible. And all of these things stem from being pressured and making us believe that the way that we authentically are designed is unacceptable. So when you think about general life, if you tell an autistic person, you shouldn't put limitations on yourself, or I want to push you beyond your comfort zone, or, things like that, or you tell an autistic person, oh no, you're not really feeling anxious, you look calm to me, or you're not, feeling this or that, you are basically telling that person that what they're experiencing in their own body, in their own life, in their own experience is wrong. That's gaslighting. And that can cause very severe mental illnesses. It can cause anxiety, depression. It can even cause schizophrenia. And I was actually told that by a psychologist. So I'm not a psychologist, but I was told that by a psychologist. And it can also lead to burnout. It can lead to feelings of worthlessness. It can lead to self-loathing. It can lead to an inability to understand one's own experience. That's very, very serious. So we have to be very careful how we talk to autistic people. And it's important to understand that our experience in doing something, our process and how we do something, is very, very different sometimes from a non-autistic person's. So I'm hoping that this will shed some light on how we address autistic people, how we might address them as teachers, as parents, as educators, as instructors, and even just in general. It's important to understand that the way your autistic child is figuring out how to do something might not be the way that you figure out how to do something. And you need to allow that person the freedom to have their own experience and understand and learn the way that they do it instinctively. Because if you don't, the consequence could be very, very tragic. So please comment on what you think about this, and let's get a dialogue started, because it's so important. And it's critically important that we learn how to embrace all styles of learning and experiencing life. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.